Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa. Let's continue.
In a quiet chamber deep within the Lord's mansion, Prathia was simmering with unease. Standing before her was the Shadow Knight. No, she demanded to know why the scout assigned to monitor the northern border had vanished. She had explicitly instructed that he be brought in alive. No matter how far he had wandered, his capture was vital. No calmly stated that he had not harmed the scout. He had merely questioned him using fear magic. And when he left, the man had been unharmed. Hearing this, Prathia's eyes narrowed in thought. After taking a slow sip of tea, she asked No to share any findings from the encounter. But his report offered little value. The scout had revealed nothing useful, only that he was following orders without knowing their origin. This left Prathia more perplexed than before. If the man was just a clueless wanderer, why would anyone go to such lengths to make him disappear? No proposed that his vanishing was not tied to what he knew, but rather because his absence was necessary to set a chain of events in motion, since certain summoning rites required a missing subject. Hearing this, Prathia's gaze grew troubled. She quickly commanded No to ensure, at all costs, that Ren remained under protection. No vowed to see it done, then withdrew. Alone, Prathia sank into her chair, mind restless. Finally, she mused that perhaps her arrival in this region had been perfectly timed. The scene then moved to the domain of Duke Eska. In his lavish chamber, he was savoring the refined entertainment of two gifted performers. As a ruler enriched by rare artifact trades, he always chose the most skilled companions to amuse him. At that instant, a guard burst in, face pale and alarmed. "My lord, pardon my intrusion, but an unexpected envoy waits to meet you." The abrupt interruption shattered his amusement, and Duke Eska's face twisted with rage, his glare sharp enough to still the guard's breath. He demanded to know who dared intrude upon his evening. The soldier stammered that the guest was none other than Lord Carvain from the port city of Mast, and that he claimed to bear urgent news. Upon hearing Carvain's name, Duke Eska's fury eased slightly. He wondered why that scheming trader had chosen to appear now and hoped Carvain had brought along some rare treasures. He then instructed the soldier to escort Lord Carvain to the drawing hall, saying he would join shortly. By then, Duke Eska felt a flicker of anticipation, for Carvain's past offerings had always been remarkable. He was certain this time would be no different, and that tonight he would secure something extraordinary. In high spirits, Eska entered to meet Carvain. As soon as he approached, he greeted him with warmth. "Carvain, it has been far too long since we last spoke. What brings you here at such an hour? Surely you have brought me something remarkable, yes?" In contrast to Eska's amiable tone, Carvain's face was lined with urgency. He apologized for the intrusion, explaining that this time his offering was not a relic, but information of grave importance. This statement quickly stripped away Eska's cheer, though he still hoped it would prove valuable. Carvain gravely disclosed that he had been driven from Mast by the second daughter of High Chancellor Arvin, and that from now on, he could no longer supply Eska with the rare items he once sourced from distant coasts. The news jolted Duke Eska. "What did you just say? You have been cast aside by Arvin's own bloodline? How dare she? You have served their house loyally for years, and now she discards you like broken glass." Carvain exhaled heavily before adding, "Lorien Vane now presides over Mast, believing he has full control. Last night I infiltrated the harbour and eliminated the captain of the smugglers who ferried your contraband." The words made Eska stiffen, and this time concern crept plainly into his eyes. He had no idea that his own couriers had been intercepted. Anxiously, he asked Carvain whether Lorien had uncovered their hidden dealings. Carvain admitted that Lorien likely suspected something, which was exactly why he had risked everything to come here with a warning. Hearing this, Eska hesitated before asking, "You mean Lorien plans to move against me?" Carvain did not confirm the thought, but reminded him that the council strictly banned unlicensed artifact trading, and that Eska had no protective treaty with Lorien's family. He suspected Lorien might use this as a pretext to strip him of power. At this, beads of sweat formed and trickled down Duke Eska's brow. He could not fathom the consequences if the royal court learned of his smuggling. With rising tension, he asked Carvain if there was a plan to counter the threat. Carvain smirked and told him that earlier that day, when leaving Mast, he had learned that the Signal Tower project had been completed. This was the perfect moment to act. Since Duke Eska had never heard of this signal tower, Carvain explained that, according to reports, it was a tall structure capable of sending magical beacons, and those beacons could be redirected to cause blinding bursts across the entire Bay of Mast. They could use the tower to plunge the harbor into chaos, crippling the city's defenses. After that, they could send troops to seize Mast and settle matters decisively. Hearing this, Duke Esker rose in alarm and shouted, "You plan to openly strike at the heir of High Chancellor Arvin? That is utterly unthinkable. If the High Chancellor learns of it, we are both as good as dead." Hearing this, Carvain offered a thin smirk. He reminded Duke Esker that if Lorien exposed their dealings to the council, both would face execution. But if they could execute the plan and make Lorien's downfall seem the result of the signal tower's failure, then even the High Chancellor would have no grounds for retribution. After all, no one yet knew the full potential of the tower. Furthermore, once Esker gained control of Mast, he would never again need intermediaries to obtain rare treasures. Enticed by Carvain's reasoning, Duke Esker, after a pause, agreed to proceed with the scheme. Back in the port of Mast was a skilled artisan whom Lorien had recently sheltered in his manor and treated with care. However, 3 days had passed and the young woman had not spoken a single word. At that moment, she sat in Lorien's library as he attempted to open conversation by asking her how she found the herbal tea that morning. The question startled Aelia slightly. She lifted her eyes toward Lorien, but after a fleeting moment, she chose silence and lowered her gaze, her face shadowed by sorrow. Seeing her reluctance to speak, Lorien's concern deepened. He wondered how terribly this woman had been wronged, suspecting she had endured cruelty from the smugglers, leaving her distant and wary. Just then, Myra burst through the door, her expression alight with excitement, and informed Lorien that the signal tower was now operational.